Good afternoon and welcome back to Premier League Live here on LFS this Sunday afternoon as we get ready for our second billing of the day as we watch Ipswich take on Manchester City at Portman Road. Their first meeting on this ground since 2001, of which Ipswich came out victorious on that day. Already this afternoon we've seen Everton beat Spurs 3-2, Brighton win 3-1 away at Manchester United, and a 3-2 victory for Nottingham Forest against the league's bottom side, Southampton. To the teams for this one, let's start with the home side then, Ipswich. They start with Walton in goal, a back five of Johnson, Godfrey, O'Shea, Burgess and Leif Davis in defence. In midfield, Cayuste and Morsey, the captain. Either side of them is Amari Hutchinson and Clark on the left side, with Liam Delap, the former Manchester City player, up front for Ipswich. For the visitors, Manchester City, starting with a back three of some sort. But as Edison starts in goal, a back three of Mamlakanji, Ruben Dias and Joško Vardiol. A midfield two of Mateo Kovacic and Ilkay Gundogan, with Mateus Nunes and Kevin De Bruyne, the captain, further forward. On the right flank is Phil Foden. On the left side is Jeremy Doku. And of course, Erling Haaland leading the line for Manchester City. The Ipswich bench looks like this: Muric, Townsend, Tuanzebe, Broadhead, Burns, Luongo, Philogene, Taylor and Hurst. For Manchester City, Ortega, Alien, Lewis, Grealish, Bernardo Silva, Savinho, O'Reilly, McAtee and Mubama all on the bench. For City, it is an Ipswich side who at the moment have a bit more positivity about them in recent weeks after picking up a few points, but the defeat against Brighton means they'll need to bounce back. Manchester City, will they drop points in midweek again away at Brentford? They don't want to do the same against another tough away stadium. Kick-off between Ipswich and Manchester City is on the way next. Very good evening. Welcome in to LFS on Premier League Live this Sunday afternoon for our second game of the afternoon, which was a 5-goal thriller between Everton and Spurs, albeit Everton were deserved winners in the earlier game. Don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on post notifications if you haven't done so already. That would be greatly appreciated. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us this afternoon. We're on the road to 25,000 and we're getting ever so close, getting closer every single day, so we appreciate everybody who is joining us and has subscribed already to the channel. Mindblown says, let's hope for another goal fest. Well, it was, and it did end up a goal fest between Everton and Spurs a bit earlier this afternoon. Let's hope for more. I love goals. Certainly love high-scoring games. But Pep Guardiola's side, well, they haven't been as convincing defensively. They haven't been as ruthless up front. They've been kind of here nor there in recent weeks and days, but they've got into good form in the last few games, and they're hoping to make that good form continue this afternoon against a side newly promoted. And the last time Ipswich beat Manchester City was when the City got relegated back in 2001. But before we get kicked off, we will remember a City legend, a man who will be remembered as one of the greats of both Manchester clubs, in Dennis Law. A moment of silence and a moment of applause, duly respected. And now it is time for the bit on the pitch. These two teams, at this moment in time, very different positions in the table. Ipswich looking to get themselves out of the bottom three, at least until tomorrow evening, before Wolves play Manchester City. With a big win today, could go into the top four, but top five a realistic target for the visitors. If they get any sort of victory, they will leapfrog 3 teams up into 5th and try and get their side and their season back on track. Manchester City, as we get ready to get underway, City will get us going in their away strip of that kind of purpley maroon colour, and Ipswich, of course, in their home strip, blue shirts, white shorts. And it will be City that will get us underway in a moment. And off we go. In the reverse fixture, it finished 4-1 to Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium. Ipswich last played City here, as I said, at Portman Road back in 2001. Very different fortunes that season. Ipswich finished 5th at the end of that season. Manchester City were relegated at the end of that season. Very different fortunes coming into this one. Our referee today, Sam Barrett. Our VAR is Paul Tierney. Hopefully we don't need to hear from Paul Tierney this afternoon. We'll see, because it's been a few weeks since I've really keenly watched Manchester City and figured out kind of where they are. They've kind of got back into the winning way, started to pick up a few results. But are they really back to what we know City? Or are they just, at the moment, picking up points when they necessarily need to, really? Because they could have found themselves well caught adrift of a top 4 race if they had kept dropping points like they were in that torrid run that they were on. For Manchester City, they've already lost 6 league games this season, and then winning the title last season, they lost just 3 games, and the season before that they lost 5 games in a whole season. The last time Manchester City lost more than the games that they have lost now in a single season was back when Liverpool won the league back in the 2019-2020 season. So the last time Manchester City didn't lift the trophy was the last time they had more than 6 defeats in a season. Here is a chance down the right hand side for Morsey. Not really much room to break forward there for Ipswich as it comes back into midfield, and the cross from Matthäus Nunes, who was dealing with it, tried to head it back to his keeper, heads it out for an Ipswich corner. Bit unnervy there from Matthäus Nunes. It's Sam Morsey with the cross, fizzed into the box, and no one really in target there for Ipswich, but Matthäus Nunes tries to head it back to Edison and completely miscues it to his keeper. Corner to Ipswich. An unforced error by the City midfielder as Ipswich their first set piece of the game. On this left hand side, will be in a right footed in swinging corner, whipped in, flicked on and over the bar. I think it did take a deflection on the way through. It will be another corner. See it again, it's whipped in. Lovely, good header in there by Burgess. It is, it gets on the head on it, but it comes off Ruben Dias last. It will go out for another corner to Ipswich, but good delivery. And we'll get another chance. Burgess with the first header. Let's see who they can get on the end of this one. Left-footed delivery this time. Flicked away at the near post by De Bruyne. Brought back down by Amari Hutchinson. Trying to keep Ipswich up the pitch for the moment. Hayuste. Out wide to Dave Davis, who will whip one deep. But Edison will have it all the way. Seen it all the way and gathered it. Did Edison. It's all about Ipswich just trying to upset Manchester City today. They have had some big results, really good performances this season from Ipswich, and at times maybe feeling they weren't getting the points that they probably deserved out of the games that they've played and how well they've played in certain games this season. But not a bad run in the Premier League recently. 3 of their last 5 ended in defeat, but picked up 2 wins in the last 6 games. At home against Chelsea and away to Wolves. And that draw against Fulham as well. So not a bad haulage of points from Ipswich in the last few weeks. And considering, quite interestingly, 4 of the last 6 defeats Ipswich in the Premier League have all been a 1-goal difference. Only 2 games have actually Ipswich lost by more than a goal in the last 6, and that was at home to Brighton and at home to Newcastle. Those other games, Bournemouth, Palace, Forest and Arsenal, all by 1-goal margins, those defeats. So again, to the point, very tight games, just not going in the way of Ipswich in those tight fixtures. And that's the difference in the Premier League. Here's De Bruyne through the lines, down the right hand side from a test. Nunez just ruled out of play. Goes behind for a goal kick. Nice idea, good overlapping run, but the ball just slightly too much pace on up from Kevin De Bruyne. A goal kick will come for Ipswich. Well, Phil Foden said it in the week. I mean, a lot of information about Manchester City in the week. Phil Foden talked about how he does feel, and they called Manchester City, said that the squad is not stupid. We do know that it's maybe beyond us now that we can get to the title. They find themselves coming into this one 15 points off the league leaders Liverpool, and Liverpool after this game for Manchester City will have a game in hand as well. So even if they do close the gap, Manchester City, to 12 points, Liverpool with their game in hand can open it up again to 15. So Phil Foden did suggest that I think Manchester City have given up hopes of a title. Maybe just top 4 is their being target, which they're not currently in. They can end today in the top 4, Manchester City, if they pick up a victory of more than a 3-goal margin here, because that will mean they will have a better goal difference than Newcastle, who currently occupy 4th. As I said, they would need to win by 3 goals or more to do that. And that is, of course, pending on Chelsea playing tomorrow as well. Chelsea win tomorrow, then City will be knocked out of the top 4 no matter what happens today. But a long way to go. There's Doku there, trying to play down the left. Well blocked by Ben Godfrey, but it comes back out to Joshua Variol. And down the left it goes to Doku again. Hasn't really hit the heights at Manchester City since joining, Jeremy Doku. Some call him a bit of a disappointment, a bit of a damp squib since joining the club. Now, wide players this season, City, it's been a real kind of key to where they've kind of fallen down in games this season is their width. You know, their wide players usually offer a lot of quality, a lot of opportunities, a lot of crosses. This season, their wide players have been below par. That's another example as Doku beaten off the ball down the right hand side by Ben Johnson. Into the space here. Lovely breakaway from Jack Clark. He's got Delap along with him. Here is Liam Delap breaking into the box. Delap goes to the right. Cuts it back. Left footed. Well charged down the shots. Still alive. Godfrey. Johnson. Back to Godfrey. Across. Diaz just about get it clear. As Manchester City want a counter now with Haaland. Very good break by Ipswich. Now here comes Haaland. Finding De Bruyne. Trying to return it. Kevin De Bruyne, but well blocked by Dara O'Shea. And City back in possession. But again, it all comes down to Jeremy Doku giving the ball away cheaply in the wide areas. City not set up to kind of cover the counter. And Ipswich burst up the other end with Delap. The former Manchester City player, of course, Liam Delap. And almost finding a good opportunity. Here's Vardiol. City want to take control. So far, Ipswich have held them out of that. Diaz hounded a bit there as Akanji comes out wide to Nunez. Has to come back infield though, all the way back to Ruben Diaz. But as I was saying about the wide players, you know, we talk about City having some great wide players in the past. You know, I mean, there's so many, but one that comes to mind, I mean, Riyad Mahrez, one of the best wide players ever at Manchester City. We talk about Leroy Sané and others. Lots of other great kind of wide players that occupied the wings for City in those great seasons under Pep Guardiola. But right now, you know, you look at the wide players, you look at Savinho, Grealish, Doku, of course, even Bernardo Silva when he goes out to that wide area. It's really not the same. It's not that blistering, bursting pace that can absolutely kill a team. And if they do use their pace, sometimes there's just not that quality in the delivery. Whereas City had the best of both worlds with those that they had in the past. But that's probably where I would say they've fallen down this season. Manchester City was due to the width. Here is Matheus Nunes, wide on the right. Back to Foden. Infield to Gundogan. Back out wide to Matheus Nunes. Excuse me. Nunes. Infield to Kovacic. He will try and deliver it in, but well blocked. Back to Kovacic. Gives it out wide to Gvardiol. Nice. Doku. Well challenged by Ben Johnson in the way. Doku gets it back and gives it back to Kovacic. City just keeping the ball moving at the moment. Keeping Ipswich honest. Here is Foden. Out wide it goes to the right for Nunes. Infield trying to find Gundogan. Well cleared away by O'Shea, but City have it instantly back. And want to come right back at Ipswich. Is the ball over the top. Run for Doku. Does keep it in, but will end up going out for a Ipswich throw. I mean, he denied Ipswich the goal kick, but he gives them the throw in the end. But this is the good chance from Liam Delap for Ipswich. Given away by Doku. They break through the midfield. Really nice football. And Delap and Clark break away nicely. Clark fights it out down the right hand side to Liam Delap. Takes his man on the outside and Diaz cuts back inside. And as he takes the shot, well blocked by Gvardiol. But again, really smart play by Liam Delap. But really vulnerable looking for Manchester City there for a moment or two. As the flag's going to go up here against Kevin De Bruyne. So a free kick for the home side. Well, I said about Manchester City's uptick in form in the Premier League, unbeaten in the last 4 Premier League games, 2 wins, 2 draws. After that 2-game defeat away at home to United and away to Aston Villa back in December. Went on a total of 6 defeats in 8 Premier League games, did Manchester City. In a little spell, they only picked up wins against Forest and a draw away at Crystal Palace in that 8-game drought. That torrid 8-game run that they had. And they kind of had it coming, to be honest. Unbeaten in their first 6 games of the season, but once you lose a big player and lose 4 in a row, kind of it's a bit of a struggle for Manchester City, but seem to have got the train back on the tracks for the moment. I'm looking to just pick up another set of points here this afternoon, given away by De Bruyne. Here's Hutchinson, crowded around by 3, wanted a foul, and is going to get that foul. Is Amari Hutchinson. I remember Amari Hutchinson. I watched the game against Manchester United, and he scored that wonderful goal to equalise for Ipswich in that first half. And Ipswich probably should have got more out of that game. He scored, of course, in the win here, Hutchinson against Chelsea. So he does score big goals in big moments for Ipswich this season. And that Manchester United one was an absolute peach of a goal. It was a proper quality goal. Long ball forward here, down the left for Leif Davis. Has Akanji for company. Turns back, does Davis. Into midfield to Kayusti. Now Morsey. Out on the left it comes to Clark. Morsey has to come back with it to O'Shea. And now Godfrey. Through the lines, finds Hutchinson on the turn. Blocked by Kovacic the first time. Does well to break it away, does Kovacic. Finds Gundogan. Akanji. Okay, Gundogan in the centre circle in his own half. Gives it to Haaland, who has to track all the way back and give it back to Ruben Dias. Of course, Erling Haaland scored. Well, forget about scoring. Usually when you talk about Erling Haaland, it's like, oh, he scored this, he scored that. He signed a 9.5-year contract in midweek, springing up to 2034 at this club. Absolutely uncharted territory. It's now the longest contract. It's the longest remaining contract in the Premier League. 15 of those top 20 longest contracts in the Premier League actually were Chelsea. But Manchester City have the top spot with Erling Haaland until June of 2034. He is contracted to Manchester City, but there is a release clause that comes into effect in 2029. But I mean, we're in 2025, so we're still, before a release clause is even given, they've still got a guaranteed 4 years of Erling Haaland, and maybe a guaranteed 9.5 years, nearly a full decade. Practically his whole career from here on out could end up being at Manchester City. And here he is in behind Erling Haaland. Good save. Really good save by Walton. Christian Walton stepping up and stopping Erling Haaland. Again, really good play in the midfield. Good battle for City. Kovacic breaks away from his man. Threads a beautiful through ball in behind for Erling Haaland. Through both O'Shea and Burgess. Can't really get to the end of it, either of the two of them. And the keeper has to make a save. Haaland with a strike. And a great save by Christian Walton. Corner taken short. Doku trying to sneak it. Caught by Walton again. He knew he was going to be called into action tonight, Christian Walton, especially against that man Haaland. And Haaland, one-on-one with the keeper, and he makes a fabulous save. Really good save by Walton. Keeps Ipswich on terms with City at the moment. That'll give City confidence, though. They find Haaland so really simply through the middle. Oh, that's given away cheaply. Here is Gundogan across. De Bruyne couldn't lay it off to Haaland. Kovacic over the bar. City again trying to turn the screw. You just see it again. Ipswich a bit cute in possession here. Burgess tries to play it in field to Kayuste. Couldn't find it. Given away, and then Gundogan nips in, steals it into the box, tries to cut it back, cuts it across to De Bruyne, decides to pass it back across to Haaland, who isn't given the shooting opportunity, and as it rolls out to Kovacic, he skies it over the bar. But another good chance for City. And Ipswich maybe a bit lucky to get away with that one on that occasion, because they played themselves into trouble on that occasion. Walton's going to knock it long this time from the goal kick. Johnson in the midfield. Bit of head tennis as the ball comes back to Vardiol here for City, and he tries to swing it across and out the other flank on the right side, but intercepted by Leif Davis. Here's space for Davis to break down the left here. Not in a hurry. Back to Kayuste, and now across to O'Shea through the middle of Hutchinson. Hutchinson in between the lines, trying to find Clark, couldn't quite reach him as Nunes got in the way, and now Haaland on the turn. He's got Foden and De Bruyne with him. Haaland into Phil Foden. Foden, shot charged down, and Morsi there to clear it away. And then the header forward by City is put behind goal kick. Again, you can see City starting to up the tempo, up their energy in the game, but at the moment Ipswich have men in the way, bodies in the way when they need to. And they've made some good blocks in the last few minutes, some good stops when City have looked dangerous. Player from the back here. Maybe a risk and reward situation, because it comes through to Delap. Feeds it out wide here for Davis. He's got Clark on that side. Comes back in field to Kayuste. You can see why Ipswich want a player from the back, because when they do get it, break that City press, they've got space in behind, but it's all about being careful. City's press is one of the best in the Premier League, and when you play your hands right into City and give City the opportunity to kind of press you, you're in trouble. But when you break through, there is space in behind, and that's where Ipswich trying to exploit. Here's Walton on his own on the D. As it comes out to O'Shea. Look to swing the ball out to the left flank. Look at the gaps here. Leif Davis has the freedom of the left flank here. Davis goes for the deep cross. Too deep. Too close to Edison. The space was gaping on that side. Here comes De Bruyne. Game's starting to open up a bit more. Here's Doku down the left side. Haaland and Foden in the middle. Docker cross, well blocked by Dara O'Shea. Goes behind for the Manchester City corner. Again, that was a really good spot by O'Shea for Ipswich, spotting the run, spotting the space for Leif Davis on that left-hand side. So another corner for Manchester City. Second of the game. Here's Doku, goes short, De Bruyne, back to Kovacic. Cross to Foden, who will shoot. And Gundogan tried to take it on the turn, and he deflected it right into the path of Christian Walton in the Ipswich goal. Yeah, Foden wanted to go from range and into the path of Gundogan. He took a first touch with it, Ilkay Gundogan, and it just kind of rolled into the path of Walton to just recover. Played themselves there, did Manchester City, on that occasion. Kanji across to Gvardiol. He will just retreat back to his goalkeeper. Manchester City just getting a bit more comfort in the game. Well, considering how it's gone this season in the Premier League, as I said, topsy-turvy for City. They've kept just 2 clean sheets on the road this season, away at Leicester and away at Chelsea. Just 2 clean sheets on the road from their, what would be, this would go down as Manchester City's 12th away game of the season. 4 wins, 3 draws, 4 defeats from their previous 11. Quite topsy-turvy away from home, but in terms of their last 12 games, they've won just 3 of those 12, drawn 3 and lost 6 in terms of the Premier League games. As the ball comes down the left side here with Davis. Infield to Clark. Now Morsey. Out wide it goes again to Leif Davis. Kayusta. Across to O'Shea. Through the lines to Hutchinson. Nice play, zigzag football with Godfrey. Johnson. Godfrey. Morsey. Hutchinson. Just gives it back to Manchester City with that heavy touch. Now Haaland, lovely ball through to De Bruyne. De Bruyne just trying to find Foden. Just a bit short that time. Morsey does really well, and Clark tried to break away, but Akanji was alert and got on the end of it. Smart play from both teams in midfield at the moment. Spaces for both to exploit. Maybe just last moment letting them down as Kovacic gives it away to Delap here, who's bursting down the left side. Liam Delap against 2. Goes down and is going to get the foul. That's incredible centre forward play from Liam Delap. I mean, he comes deep, wins the ball, says to the midfielder in Kovacic, I'm just going to beat you here. Piss off, get out of my way. Bricks away down the left side, beats past Nunez again, and as both players trying to get the ball back in Kovacic and Nunez, they take out Liam Delap and win a free kick. Does the Ipswich centre forward. Really good centre forward play, really smart, really incisive from Liam Delap, and keeps his team out of their own box and trying to threaten the opposition's box at the moment with Leif Davis on this left side. He will have the free kick to deliver. 23 minutes gone, 0-0. Leif Davis giving a bit of information there to Burgess. Let's just see, it's more of a floating delivery you're expecting here. Can't really put massive pace on it. Kind of float it into the area and hope that someone gets on it. Davis though cuts it back for Hutchinson, whose shot is over the bar. He caught it beautifully, Amari Hutchinson. Davis catching everyone out, think he's going to deliver it, and as it cuts it back, Hutchinson unmarked on the edge of the box, strikes it with a left. It takes a deflection off the head of Haaland and goes behind for the corner, but he caught that one beautifully, did Amari Hutchinson, and it gets Ipswich a corner. A tricky little side, our Ipswich. Making it tricky for Manchester City so far. Corner, left side, whipped in, headed on, and into the hands of Haaland. Haaland. Into the hands of Edison. Lovely delivery. Headed on by O'Shea, and then Edison grips it right in front of his face. 2 hands up and gathers the ball. Said it because Haaland's in the vicinity of that one, trying to head it away. Here comes Foden. Imagine Erling Haaland was in goal for Manchester City. Anyway, here we go. Doku. De Bruyne down the left side. Infield to Doku. Good movement from City. Here's Vardiol. Out wide again to Jeremy Doku. Ipswich covering those spaces every time City get into a little gap. They are there to close it off. The Ipswich team. Doesn't have to be defenders, midfielders. Even their attackers are dropping deep. A whole team effort at the moment. Here's Gundogan. Very wide on that right. Back infield to Akanji. Lays it off to Kovacic. Through the lines, De Bruyne flicks it round the corner. Doku just about gets there. Excuse me. Doku back infield to Kovacic, looking for the space. Swings it out to the right. Headed back into the mix by Nunez, and Foden doesn't get the right touch on the ball. And Ipswich clear it away. Excuse me. Again, they just have the number of City at the moment. Ipswich just settling defensively. Here is Vardiol out wide to Doku. Back to Josko Vardiol. Now Diaz. Kanji through the lines to Kovacic. On the turn. Looking for space, but Ipswich a 5-4-1. Bank of 5 and a bank of 4. Solidifying those central areas. He's trying to, as Foden fizzes one across, out wide to Doku again on the left. The sides he wants to take on Ben Johnson. Sneaks it in behind. Here's De Bruyne across, brought down and find the back of the net. But it's Phil Foden. Really good combination play by Manchester City. And they find the opening goal. Really well created, really well worked, and a nice finish by Phil Foden. Much more rhythmical, much better movement, and a really cute finish by Phil Foden to give Manchester City the lead. It comes as Doku takes it on the left side, and he's been kind of coming inside mostly in this first half. He does come inside this time, but he takes on Johnson, gets himself to the box, then cuts inside, sneaks it in behind for De Bruyne, makes the run to the byline, and as he cuts it across, Phil Foden's there, whipped across, and Foden takes the touch and side foots it with his left past Walton and gives Manchester City the lead. It is Ipswich 0, Manchester City 1, and Phil Foden has the goal. And that has a bit of form for Phil Foden, because that's now 4 in his last 3 Premier League matches. 2 against Brentford and 1 against West Ham. He's on form at the moment, is Phil Foden, and that is his 5th league goal of the season. His only other goal came in a defeat to Aston Villa. So his first goal of the season came on the 21st of December, and he scored 4 since, and it's the 19th of January. So certainly heading a run of form is Foden, and he has Manchester City the lead. Here come Ipswich though with a response. Delap trying to sneak it past Edison, but it just comfortably fell for the City goalkeeper. Kanji goes long this time, nicely intercepted by O'Shea, but gives the ball away, and now a bit caught out here Ipswich, but Haaland goes backwards with the pass. Just comfortable keeping City in possession. Gundogan, sorry, over the top. Godfrey with an unconvincing header, but gets lucky that Doku and Howland got themselves muddled up there. And Walton can clear his lines. Ipswich a bit nervy in the last few minutes. Here comes Vardiol into Gundogan. Out wide on the right hand side it comes to Nunes. Back to Akanji. Gundogan, nice ball round the corner to Foden. Tracked away all the way back to Ruben Dias. Now Vardiol into the space for Kovacic. Out wide it goes to Doku. Nice play. Here's Jeremy Doku. Cuts back onto his right. Cuts it back for Foden. Lays it off for Kovacic. 2-0. Foden scored the first. Sets up the second. And in a matter of moments, Manchester City double their lead. It's the City we know. And they seem to be back amongst us once again. Ipswich 0, Manchester City 2. And on a good spell, Manchester City make it count and get a second. Yeah, it's really calm, really nice football again. Comes from the left side. Doku back in field, gives it to Foden on the edge of the D. And as he just rolls it across, thought about shooting, rolls it across to Kovacic, who hits one with his right to the far left corner. Keeper had no chance. Really beautifully worked goal. And a crafty one, but a nice finish. 2-0. And that's Mateo Kovacic's fourth of the season. His best in his career in terms of stats for goals in a season. And it's his first goal in the Premier League since he got a brace against Fulham in a 3-2 win at the Etihad back in October. It's the last time he was on the score sheet. And he also scored in that 2-0 win over Chelsea, his former club, on the opening day of the season. Back in August. So, a few gaps between his goals for Kovacic. He's got one this afternoon, and that's his fourth of the campaign. Well, the City fans are certainly happy. They're singing "You're Going Down with United." In the away fans, of course, Manchester United teetering in that bottom half, and Ipswich in the bottom three. And they're now singing "You're Going Down with United." Here comes Godfrey. No, Manchester United in a torrid little moment at the moment, but we'll not worry about that. Not relevant to this game as it stands, to be honest. Here's Leif Davis in behind. Ipswich trying to fight back. Here's Clark. Jack Clark looking for a way through. Has to turn back to give it back to Leif Davis. Back to Clark again. Ipswich bodies around the City box. As Godfrey just takes control but retreats a little bit with it. Into Morsey. On the turn. Through the lines. Linking up with Clark. Back to Morsey again. Looks to switch it. Finds it out to Hutchinson on the right side. Hutchinson. Tiptoeing his way forward up against Doku. Takes on his man. Amari Hutchinson with a cross. Dipping. Falling. Cayusta. Knight Davis. Back to Cayusta. Edge of the box. Cayusta will look to take a shot there. Well blocked. Morsey. Now back round with Burgess. Better from Ipswich. Davis. Clark. Back to Leif Davis. In between the lines, trying to squeeze through, but not given the space. And Morsey, Cayusti on that side, puts it out for a goal kick. As Leif Davis is feeling a bit of pain in a specific area. Well, Calvin Phillips probably would have started if he wasn't blocked from starting. Of course, ineligible to play against his parent club. On loan from Manchester City to Ipswich. Can't play against them. So he's in the stands today, watching on with his coat on. But he probably would have played in that midfield today if he was allowed. Played in midweek against Brighton. Ben Johnson went down there wanting a free kick. Not going to get one from the referee, Sam Barrett. 11 minutes to go of the first half, and City have a bit of a comfort in a lead at the moment. 2 goals to the good. Foul. Well, they thought it was a foul on Gundogan, but the referee's played advantage here for Manchester City. Break down the left-hand side with De Bruyne. Across now to Kovacic. Feeds it out wide to the right for Nunes. Nunes lifts it in, and too close to Walton, who gathered well. In the mood for this one, our City. Well, in terms of their scorers, I did say a few weeks ago when they were in that bad run, when I last commentated on City, that they kind of had a struggle where they really didn't have anyone else kind of testing for top goal scorer with Erling Haaland. I mean, it's still a big gap, but Haaland on 16 goals. Foden is now the second top goal scorer with his 5th goal of the season scored today. Vardiol with 4, Kovacic with 4, and De Bruyne on 2, along with Doku, Silva, Stones, Savinho and Lewis are all the players that have scored for Manchester City this season. Ball comes down the left side here for Leif Davis. Lifts one in, but again, too close to Edison. But certainly those players for City starting to rack up the numbers, but still Erling Haaland by far the top scorer for Manchester City. If to guess who the top assist, the player with the most assists for Manchester City this season would be, you wouldn't believe what I'm going to tell you, because it's Savinho with 5 assists, more than Kevin De Bruyne, more than Bernardo Silva, who both have 4 assists this season. Of course, Phil Foden scored and assisted in this game already, so he's on fire so far tonight for this one. And what hasn't been a bad weekend for Manchester City, of course, considering Newcastle losing, Forest just about scraping through, Arsenal dropping points. The ball swung out by Vardiol, finds Foden. Here is Phil Foden. Goes across to De Bruyne. De Bruyne over the bar. Good chance. But City will be confident that, you know, they can go on a run. You know, we've seen them do it before. I mean, win this one, 5 games unbeaten in the Premier League, and they can kind of start ticking over and just convincing themselves that maybe they are just back into the bit of a rhythm and they're at their level. They're top 4 contenders. They're not really title challengers at this minute in time, but they can put on a run where they can get really challenging with top 4 and have a good end of the season. Can Manchester City? Of course, out of the League Cup, obviously well into the next round of the FA Cup, where they head to Leyton Orient at the start of February. But Champions League is a big task for City. That'll be the big kind of look ahead. You know, midweek away at PSG, Manchester City sitting 22nd in the Champions League, PSG in 25th. So both sides need points in midweek, and if they want to qualify, Manchester City 8 points from their 6 Champions League games so far. They could find themselves outside of that top 24, which would get them through to the knockout stages come the end of this week and find themselves in a tough position. But in the form that they've been going in, they know they have a big job to do in midweek. So far they're doing their job here tonight. Here's Doku across, De Bruyne! Well blocked by Burgess. Back out to De Bruyne though. Here is Doku again. In behind for De Bruyne again. Who crosses and cleared away in behind by Burgess again. Corner to Manchester City. Looking to add another and really take the game beyond doubt of who might get it. City win tonight. That'll be their 11th win of the season, considering where Manchester City were with that torrid run. It's not actually that bad. They would be only 1 win behind second placed Arsenal, 2 wins behind Forest, and 4 wins behind league leaders Liverpool. In that, if they were to win this afternoon. De Bruyne takes the corner short to Doku, back to De Bruyne. He tried to cross it, but well blocked by Clark. Does bounce back out to Kovacic. Here Foden on the right side. Foden whips one in, and it just goes all the way through. It was looking like it might have found Vardiol at the back post, but just evaded him at the last seconds. Goal kick. So far, City have had 8 shots in the game. 4 of those 8 shots on target. Ipswich have had 5 shots, 2 on target. So they have been testing City at the other end, but City over controlling possession. They've had 2 big chances. Ipswich have had 1 big chance, which of course they haven't taken, obviously. In the game, it's City ruthless in taking both of their big chances so far. Less than 5 minutes to go in the first half. Ipswich 0, Manchester City 2. Battling there down the left flank. It will be an Ipswich throw. Incoming. Kanji all the way back to Edison. Pressure coming to Delap, but Akanji gets it back. Now wide to Diaz, who will knock it long over the top. Well dealt with by Godfrey. Nicked away from O'Shea by De Bruyne. And now here's Doku. De Bruyne on the run. De Bruyne in behind. He's got bodies in the middle. Kevin De Bruyne. Foden. And it dribbles in. 3-0. Sloppy. Scrappy. Doesn't matter. Phil Foden has a second. Manchester City have their third. And this commanding first half from the visitors has really reflected in the scoreline. And Phil Foden is having a day at the minute. 2 goals and an assist. And this is probably the best Manchester City have played in recent weeks. They're starting to get that rhythm back, and you can see it in the way that they're playing. There's just that confidence about them now, and that freedom. They're not shackled down by their own record. Not shackled down by the pressure of having to win. It's just that freedom about City at the minute. And they've got a third before half-time. And it will take some comeback if Ipswich were to get anything at this stage. Although Everton were held quite close earlier this afternoon from a 3-goal lead. It is Phil Foden's 6th goal of the season. And he's got 4 of those in his last 2. I mean, wow. What a game and a half Phil Foden's had. 2 against Brentford and now 2 against Ipswich, and we're only in the first half. Foden starting to display what we've seen of Phil Foden, why he was Player of the Year last year. Starting to see him get that rhythm and that quality on the field, and starting to show for Manchester City. Doku couldn't find De Bruyne and Morsey there to break it apart. Morsey holds on to it well. Davis back to Sam Morsey, the Ipswich captain. Goes long up the middle. Morsey can't find Hutchinson. One back by De Bruyne. He's got a runner and Foden again. He's on a hat-trick now, remember. They got Haaland with him. Goes to try and find Haaland, but too much pace on that ball forward. Goal kick. Again, every time City come forward, you think they're going to get a good shooting opportunity. That's a worry for Ipswich. In terms of goal scoring, City have been up there. That's their 41 goals now they have, including these 3 that they've scored today. 41 goals. If you did take into account everyone else in the Premier League, there are only, if we tally it up, if I can tally it up in my head quickly, there are only 4 teams that have only 4 teams ahead of City in terms of goal scoring. 3 teams ahead of them, 1 level. Chelsea scored the same amount of goals as City now, but only Liverpool, Arsenal and Tottenham, would you believe, are the 3 teams with more goals than Manchester City this season. And we still have another half to go. And remember what I said, if City win by a 3-goal margin, which they are at the moment, they would be in the top 4 by the end of the evening, at least for 24 hours or a bit more before Chelsea face Wolves tomorrow night. Chelsea can jump back into the top 4 with a home win against Wolves tomorrow night. Even a draw could be enough, depending on how many City win by tonight. As we will have 1 added minute at the end of the first half. Doku, De Bruyne, Gundogan, Kovacic, but forced that one to Gundogan and given away in the middle. Well, one back by Foden though on the tussle. Here's Phil Foden again, tried to roll it through for Haaland, couldn't find it, and Foden dispossessed by Cameron Burgess there, who puts it out for the City throw on the right hand side. Foden could have took a shot there instead of trying to roll it through to Haaland, but he's on a hat-trick, remember. Take the ball home with him. He'll have a whole period of the second half where he can try and get a third, because that is the end of the first half. A first half where, really, City have just been the better side. It's as simple as that. Ipswich haven't been anywhere near bad or terrible, but when City get it going and when they turn it on, any side will struggle to face them and to combat them. And so far, Phil Foden's having a day of it. 2 goals and an assist. And he's involved in all 3 of City's goals, which they scored in the first half. Half time at Portman Road. It's Ipswich 0, Manchester City 3. Welcome back to Premier League Live. Half-time at Portman Road. It's Ipswich 0, Manchester City 3 at the break. And this will conclude the Premier League action of the day. With one more game to come on Matchday 22. Chelsea host Wolves tomorrow night, 8 o'clock on the Monday Night Football. And we'll be back in midweek because we have Champions League action for you to come in midweek Tuesday and Wednesday night. We'll tell you about that a bit later on. But let's just recap that first half firstly, and then we'll recap the other 8 results that we have witnessed over this Premier League weekend. It has been very away win heavy. Only 2 home wins so far this weekend, Everton and Nottingham Forest. So far the others have come 1 draw and the others all in away wins, which as it stands would add up to 6 away wins heading into the final game tomorrow. So a big swing for away sides this weekend. But let's just really recap that first half at Portman Road, because it's a first half where I don't think City needed to be out of this world to have a 3-goal lead. And that's not discredit to Ipswich one bit. You know, I have a lot of respect for Kieran McKenna and the football he wants to play, and the job that he's doing at Ipswich. Back-to-back promotions, and in the first season in the Premier League, they're getting through. They're getting good results. They're playing good football, and they're getting good performances. Maybe just not the results for them at the moment. And I think, starting that first half, they come out with the energy, the the kind of incentive to kind of go, do you know what? It's Manchester City, but we're at home. We're Ipswich. We're gonna go for it. We're gonna combat. We're gonna battle. We're gonna go toe to toe with City. We're gonna give everything we need to. And for a side that's newly promoted, you can never be too harsh on a newly promoted side because first season in the league, and Ipswich haven't been in the Premier League in 20 odd years, since 2002. It's been a long time, and these games are memories for those fans. I'm not saying it's a write-off and they should say, well, we're going to lose, but at least let's play nice football to make our fans happy. No, I think Kieran McKenna's got a genuine reason for why he played the football he's playing today, why the system as it is, who he's put in, what personnel. I think he probably would have liked Calvin Phillips in there in midfield. Can't have that because he's on loan from Manchester City, so it's a bit of an upset, a bit annoying. But other than that, I don't think Ipswich have been torn apart or really poor or really slow or any of that. It's not harsh criticism. It's just that Manchester City have been the better team. It's really as simple as that. Manchester City have been top drawer in that first half. They've probably the best they've played in months, if not, well, barring that Salford game, but that was against the lower league opposition. This is two Premier League sides, and I think in terms of Premier League form, this is probably one of the best games they've played in a long while. In terms of that first half, the fluidity, the calmness, the composure, the confidence on the ball, the kind of, to the point, fluidity. We know Manchester City over the years, they pass around you until they pass it into the back of the net. It's Manchester City's way. They pass it around, pass you to death, wait for the right moment, get the ball into the box and take that strike. That is exactly what Manchester City have done in that first half. They've been calm on the ball, they've not rushed things, a couple of missed few passes, so they're still human. Let's not forget, Ipswich have had some good chances, a couple of good opportunities to score themselves. But for Manchester City in possession, they've got that aura about them again. It's not quite champions, kind of best team in the world type aura, but they've just got that little instinct where they're getting players back, they're getting back into form, they're getting back into rhythm themselves, and you can just see that confidence growing on them. Minute by minute in that first half, City gathered a bit more control, a bit more confidence, got a bit further up the pitch. Ipswich kind of dropped off a little bit, as you would expect, but City had the answers. Playing balls in behind, first time passes, first touch, one touch football, really quick, intricate, kind of incisive football in between the lines, not waiting around, not dilly-dallying, not delaying on the ball. Really fluid, really crisp, really sharp, really nice football. And again, there's only so much you can do against a side that's playing in great form, that's in a good position, and that are playing good football. Now, I'm not saying the 3 goals are kind of unstoppable. There are things Ipswich could have done better, that they could have avoided the goals. No doubt about it. They could have got to Jeremy Doku quicker. That's where all 3 goals have come, down that left side. Jeremy Doku's been given, I think, a bit too much respect in that first half. I think Ipswich kind of started on a back 5, right? Where Johnson, right back, Godfrey, O'Shea, Burgess and Leif Davis. Ipswich haven't been exploited down the right hand side, barely anything at all in that first half, because Leif Davis has been dropping in. Now, whether it's Ben Johnson has been told not to drop back or not, maybe that's the tactical move, but I just think if you're playing a back 5 against Manchester City, or you start with a back 5 and you kind of push your man forward, really more often than not in that first half, Ben Johnson wasn't on the scene defensively. Now, clearly he must have been told not to drop back, but if you have him in a back 5, you want to make that back 5 solid against Manchester City. You can't give them space on one flank rather than the other, because they're going to exploit you. No matter how kind of frivolous Manchester City have been this season. But down the left side, Ben Johnson, maybe not his fault, but he's maybe just gone too far forward. Maybe just drop a little deeper, keep that back 5 solid, and Doku wouldn't kind of have the gaps, the space that he did have in that first half, where he could just get it on the left side and look up and think, Where am I going to go? Am I going to go backwards? Am I going to take my man on? Am I going to cut inside myself? He's got the time and space to take those options, and that's when you're in danger. When you give City the time, when you give good players time on the ball, especially in a good quality team, that's when you get punished. And that's a learning curve for Ipswich. They'll learn that as they go on. They'll learn those little intricacies of that kind of, that you wouldn't have got punished in the Championship, but you will be punished in the Premier League for little moments like that. When you do leave little spaces, when you do give a good wide player a couple of seconds to look up and think, what's my next move? When they don't have to be incisive and they don't have to do it first time, that's when you're in trouble. And again, Doku involved in all 3 goals, really good goals. I mean, it's just really good quality from City, and at times the finishes, it's not the most convincing. I mean, the opening goal for Manchester City, Phil Foden's opener, it's not the most convincing. It's a nice play, nice reverse ball into the behind for De Bruyne, cuts it back, and Foden given the chance to take a touch and then strike in the box. Maybe a bit should have been closed down better. Really good touch, really good finish. Second one, again, nice play in and around the edge of the box from City. They square it across. Foden leaves it to Kovacic. Kovacic takes the strike. Really nice finish. Probably the least avoidable of any of them, but maybe you could close the spaces down a bit quicker in the edge of your own box. And then the third one, again, just almost similar to the first one. Nice reverse ball in behind for Kevin De Bruyne. Cuts it back, and Phil Foden's there to kind of, well, he tried to finish it, tried to take a good strike on it, and ended up dribbling behind from the goalkeeper. Excuse me. So, 3 good goals, 3 quality goals, but at the end of the day, I don't think Ipswich will be saying, oh, we were absolutely awful, because they weren't. They had some good chances themselves, they had some good opportunities, and they were battling with City for the majority of that first half. But once City got into their groove, once they got comfortable, in that 15-minute spell where they scored their goals, that's when Ipswich kind of let it off a little bit, stepped off a little bit, and that's when you get punished against Manchester City. But a learning curve for them, and they'll certainly learn as the season goes on. They're not down and out yet, they're teetering. They're in the 18th at the moment, Ipswich, but they're not caught adrift. They're just in the relegation zone on goal difference, so it is as tight as could be for Ipswich at the bottom of the table. Right, that's where we stand at half-time. The second half on the way in a couple of minutes, but 8 games already concluded from this Premier League weekend. Let's recap them then for you. Started yesterday lunchtime when Nottingham Forest, that was the last game I'm going to talk about. At the top there, Newcastle beaten by Bournemouth, convincingly beaten by Bournemouth. Newcastle were actually in good form coming into that one. They had actually won, listen to this, in all competitions they had won 9 in a row, did Newcastle. That includes 6 or 5 Premier League games in a row, 5 Premier League wins in a row, and then the 3 cup victories alongside that. So really, really good from Newcastle, but a loss yesterday has them in a bit of a bother in the top 4, but they're in the top 4 battle. Bournemouth, 4 goals, a hat-trick from Justin Kluivert, and a finishing off by Milos Kerkez to wrap it up. Liverpool left it late against Brentford to take another grip at the top of the table. Darwin Núñez in the 91st and 93rd minutes, scoring 2 for Liverpool when he needed it the most. And when Liverpool needed it the most, he scored a cracker against Brentford last season in a 4-1 win, a 2-0 victory for Liverpool, and a clean sheet much needed. Fulham 2-0 winners away at Leicester. Emile Smith-Rowe and Adama Traore with the goals, and another big defeat for Leicester. That's now a really bad run. 7 Premier League defeats in a row for Leicester under Ruud van Nistelrooy. Palace winning 2-0 away in the London derby. Jean-Philippe Mateta with both goals for Palace as they go above West Ham. Arsenal faltering a 2-goal lead against Aston Villa. Excuse me, Gabriel Martinelli and Kai Havertz gave Arsenal a 2-goal lead before Tielemans and Watkins got 2 back, both back for Aston Villa to draw 2-2. Thought they'd won it, did Arsenal in the 89th minute, but Havertz deemed to have handled the ball, so no goal. Everton cruised into a 3-goal lead in the first half against Tottenham. Calvert-Lewin, Ndiaye and an Archie Gray own goal had Everton 3 to the good at the break. But 2 goals in the second half late from Dejan Kulusevski, and the former Everton player Richarlison with his first of the season kept it nervy, but it deserved 3 points for David Moyes' Everton, the first win in his second spell at the club. Another defeat for Manchester United, their 10th of the season. Yankuba Minta opened the scoring for Brighton. Bruno Fernandes got United's only goal of the game from the penalty spot in the first half to level for Mitoma, and Jorginho Rutter wrapped up the points for Brighton. And also earlier, it was a tight game in the end between Forest and Southampton. Forest 3-0 to the good again. Anderson, Hudson-Odoi and Wood all with first half goals, before two second half goals from Southampton. Bednarek and Onuachu in the 91st minute kept it tasty into 12 added minutes, but Forest held on for a home victory. Right, so that's where we stand. Ipswich 3-0 down at home against City at the break, and Chelsea take on Wolves tomorrow at 8 o'clock. But coming in midweek, the Champions League is back. Matchday 7. We're almost to the end of the new league phase of the Champions League, and for the first time in a long time, Champions League football in January. Tuesday and Wednesday this week on LFS, the first of our two offerings. Liverpool take on Lille at Anfield on Tuesday. Liverpool top of the Champions League table, 6 wins from 6. Can they make it 7 out of 7 against French opposition Tuesday at 8? And City also against French opponents as they head to PSG, the Parc des Princes, on Wednesday in Paris, as Manchester City look to grapple for a place in the top 24, and PSG 25th. They also need points. That's midweek. Second half on the way at Portman Road next. Do stay with us. Welcome back to Premier League Live, second half at Portman Road between Ipswich and Manchester City, on the way in just a moment. But just before we get the second half on the way, don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on post notifications if you haven't done so already. That'd be greatly appreciated. We thank each and every one of you for joining us here on LFS for this one. Just before we get started, Vernon in the chat says City 8-0. Maybe a bit ambitious, Vernon, a bit ambitious. You never know, but maybe a tad ambitious for Manchester City. Haven't won 8-0 away from home in God knows how long. They won 8-0 against Salford in the FA Cup, but that was at home, and that was against a League 2 opponent, so very different levels. To be honest, well, to be fair, Ipswich 2 seasons ago were actually just a league above Salford, so there's a task. There's a stat for you. Quite crazy, that. Still mind-boggling where Ipswich are at the moment. Their rise has been absolutely astronomical. And even to face Manchester City is big for them. City in the tunnel at the moment. They are coming back out for the second half. Not in a hurry. Booed back on by the Ipswich fans, as you could probably expect. Manchester City with a 3-goal advantage, and one thing I'm sure to add to that in the second half. Well, in the Premier League, their biggest victory of the season, Manchester City, was a 4-1 win in recent weeks against West Ham. They haven't scored more than 4 goals this season, and they haven't won by more than a 3-goal margin this season either, Manchester City. Both with a chance of doing so in the second half if they can keep the taps turned on and it doesn't go dry for the second period. Bit of a metaphor. It will be Ipswich that will get us going, of course. Kicking from right to left, the home side. City from left to right in the second half. And we're back on the way then at Portman Road. 3-0 to Manchester City. 2 goals from Phil Foden and 1 from Kovacic. Nothing from Erling Haaland as of yet. He did have a good chance when it was 0-0. That was saved by Walton. Other than that, we've not really seen much of Erling Haaland. I'll say that now, and I'll score a hat-trick in the second half. of this one. Here they come, City. Here's De Bruyne. Big chance, first chance of the half. Well charged out down that side, and the ball will roll out for a goal kick on the second opportunity. Gotta be honest, you know, I've not really done much to my fantasy team in the Premier League in recent weeks. Had a bad week last week, 26 points, but so far not a bad return so far this weekend. I've got Haaland in my team. I had Pedro, which is a bit of a disappointment that his goal against United a bit earlier was disallowed, but you know, swings and roundabouts. Well, one thing about Ipswich, which I've got to give credit to, is their recruitment. You know, we talk about newly promoted sides breaking the bank, throwing money everywhere, and still not keeping themselves up. But one thing I like about what Kieran McKenna has done and what Ipswich have done is bring in proven Premier League quality players. You know, we see the likes of Ben Johnson, Ben Godfrey, even Leif Davis, albeit he's been at this club, but he is certainly Premier League level. Jack Clark, Liam Delap. There are players in this starting 11 that are proven quality Premier League players, experienced players, strong players, not youngsters, not nobodies. They're good players. And when you look at the bench, you know, they've got Twanzebe, they've got Long, kind of Servant and Wes Burns in there as well. And I like the Jaden Philogene buy in the January, in this window. They signed just 4 days ago. From Aston Villa, who only joined in the summer, Jaden Philogene. But, you know, I think, for me, the recruitment from Ipswich has actually been really impressive. You know, you look at the other clubs, the other promoted sides in Southampton and Leicester, and you look at their recruitment, you look and think, have they got the quality to stay up? You know, we look at Leicester's squad and you're like, you know, they've got some good quality players, maybe Jordan Ayew, a couple of decent midfielders and defenders, but and then Southampton, are you really convinced by their squad? Personally, no. And clearly the scoreline and the table shows it. But I think Ipswich are decent in their recruitment and their positioning in the table. Here comes a Hutchinson. Big chance here. Ben Johnson across. Good save by Edison. But that was better from Ipswich. Nice run by Delap, spun his way through two players, played it into Hutchinson, who delivers it out wide to Ben Johnson, tries to sneak it across goal, kind of goes from the narrow angle with a right foot across Edison, might take a slight nick off Vardiol, and then saved by Edison, but better from Ipswich. That's what I mean, they've got that quality, they've got those players in the squad that know how to get the ball in the back of the net. And they know how to get forward, and their positive play has been really impressive this season so far up to this point. Here comes Doku though, nice turn, nice goal by Jeremy Doku. Ipswich nearly get one at one end and City do get one at the other, and that's a fourth. Really good run, really well crafted, and Jeremy Doku has been much higher level than he has been in recent weeks and months at City, and he's been playing much better today. And he gets himself on the score sheet and gets Manchester City's fourth. I mean, Doku has been free as a bird on that side, and once again, given the space. I mean, Godfrey can't really get out to him. He's not closed down quick enough, not dealt with quick enough, and City they've held him, and they've dealt them perfectly today. And he's played fabulously. Jeremy Doku, really, really well. Great performance. And he's got his goal. His third of the season for Manchester City in the Premier League. And it's going to be another victory for Manchester City. No doubt about that now. How many? We're yet to find out. Certainly been clinical today. Have City 4 goals from their 6 shots on target. So more often than not, when they get into the final third and get a shot on goal, they find the back of the net. The 2 that were on target that didn't end up in the back of the Ipswich nets. For to find them. Doku's earlier effort from a corner, and Erling Haaland's shot, probably one of the first shots of the game. With the only 2 shots on target that didn't find the back of the net, both saved by Walton. The 4 cents have all found the back of the net. Well, as you saw there on the screen, on the map on the screen there, it showed both sides' conversion rates this season. Manchester City 11% overall, and Ipswich is 10% in terms of conversions for each shot that they have. How many finds the back of the net? And 10-11% is a bit low. It's not great, but around about where Premier League sides should be, around 15 to 20% is where the good sides are. The top sides are 20% consistently, which is really high. I mean, fantastically high in terms of conversion rate. And while I was talking about that, I was trying to find out what the conversion rate of every team is in the league. It's trying to find it. It's a bit of a struggle at the moment, but I'm looking for it. Keep giving you some nice stats, you know. Keep you involved in the game as much. I can give you every other stat there, but not the conversion rates at the moment. But as you can see, Manchester City with their 42nd goal of the season. Ipswich with 20 goals. Less goals than Leicester, more than Southampton anyway, and Everton and around them. So not majorly threatening in front of goal this season. Ipswich, sorry, but they have the quality. I do feel that. It's De Bruyne across, headed away, and Doku. That's a handball. Surely the referee doesn't see it. Accidental. Now here's Doku again up against Johnson, who gets back in this time. Here's Doku, cuts it back to Gundogan. Now rolls it back. Kovacic couldn't reach it. Akanji lays it off to De Bruyne, who goes back to Ruben Dias. City just cruising at the moment. Comfortable. Very, very comfortable. No doubt about it. I have to say, those City fans today, very entertaining. First half they were singing about Ipswich going down with Manchester United, and now they're singing City are staying up, which quite ironically they were never in a relegation battle. Manchester City, far too many points for that. And they'll get a corner there off Godfrey. They will have 38 points at the end of this victory. City. Only 3 sides would have more points than them. Forest, Arsenal and Liverpool, the 3 sides above them, obviously. So they will, not a bad haul of points. Certainly top 4 level, no doubt about that, for Manchester City, and probably ruthless. But if they had this level that they've shown in this game, they probably could be title contenders this season. If they keep this up, they could fight their way back into the position, although it's a long way back to come from if they were to. De Bruyne, cross low and hard, cleared away at the front post. Brought back by Nunez, who will go all the way back to Edison. Well, it's been now 8 games without a clean sheet for Ipswich. That clean sheet went a long time ago. Their last Premier League clean sheet and came, if I can find it, came against Chelsea on the 30th of December. That's the last time they kept a clean sheet in the Premier League. Sorry, that's 8 games without a clean sheet against Manchester City. Apologies about that. Here's Foden. De Bruyne, a nice ball in behind for Nunez, who can't reach it. I did mention in the beginning, the last meeting between these two at this stadium was a 2-1 win for Ipswich back in May 2001. City were relegated at the end of that season. The last time City won on this ground was back in December 1994. They won 2-1 on that occasion. City finished that season in 17th, and Ipswich finished that season 22nd, bottom of the table. Leicester also got relegated that season with them. Oh, taking risks. We're Ipswich there. Almost got caught out with De Bruyne in the box, and they get away with it in the end. Been 3 different results in the last 3 meetings between the three here, between these two here on this ground. As I said, Ipswich won the last one, City won the one before that, and there was a draw between the two sides in March of 1994, and a 2-2 draw between the two. And in that season, 16th place for City, 19th place for Ipswich, which was enough to keep them up. Here's Doku, finds it through for Haaland. It's 5. They're adding one after another. They're queuing up to find them for each and every single one of them today. And Erling Haaland gets his 17th Premier League goal of the season. And it's City's 5th goal of the day. And Ipswich, this could get really embarrassing. It's a mistake by Jack Clark. Plays it across, gives it away to Jeremy Doku. I mean, Ipswich committing so many bodies forward. I mean, there's no one in cover. I mean, a poor ball initially by Clark, yes, but really bad covering. I mean, there's no one there for the amount of City players that will break, and it's just really poor from Ipswich's point of view, that one. And this really could get a tad embarrassing. And Vernon's prediction of 8-0 might not be too unpredictable and too kind of far-fetched now, because 5-0 up with over a half an hour of the game to go. I mean, City are in easy street at the minute. I mean, I wouldn't quite say Premier League record on the books here, but if it keeps going at the pace it's going, surely they'll get another 4. That's a long way to go. And I'm sure Ipswich won't collapse like that. But they're 5-0 down at this stage, and they've given it away again. And here comes De Bruyne. Now Haaland in the box. Erling Haaland. Doku. Haaland. Good save by Walton. Not far though. De Bruyne over the bar. Deflected over the bar. Corner. This is what I mean. It's getting a bit sloppy. It's getting a bit loose. The spaces are everywhere. Ipswich just really poor in possession again, given away in the middle. I think they just need to settle now. They need to just get back. Look, you're 5-0 down. Take the defeat on the chin and just sit back, because you're going to get absolutely bombed here, 6, 7, 8, if you do not defend. Corner ticking short. De Bruyne lifts it to the back post, and Walton there to clear it away. And Kayuste couldn't get a brick away from Haaland. Another City corner. That's what I mean. If Ipswich just don't get back into positions and don't try and stop Manchester City, if they keep trying to push forward, they're going to be absolutely humiliated. Corner taken short by Foden. 1-2 link up with De Bruyne, or Gundogan, sorry. Back with Doku now on the right side. Foden. Remember, Phil Foden's still on a hat-trick as well. Wouldn't mind taking the match ball home with him, Phil Foden. And this is certainly the most goals City have scored in a game this season. 5. In the Premier League, that is. Their biggest away win quite a while for Manchester City. They won 4-0 in the Champions League against Slovan Bratislava earlier this campaign. That was their biggest away win of the campaign, and this one will beat it now. And they've scored 5 goals for the first time this campaign. It might be more yet though. In the Premier League campaign, that is. Of course, they did score 8 against Salford. Here's Delap. 30 minutes to go. Ipswich 0. Manchester City 5. Here's Leif Davis down the left side. As they cut it back to Clark. Infield to Kayuste. Out to the right side for Godfrey now. Down the right comes Johnson. Feeds it on to Hutchinson. Back it comes. Hutchinson again. Breaking free. Down the right comes Johnson. Nice 1-2. Hutchinson continued his run on the overlap, and the cross is carried behind there by Edison. Tried to make the save and carried it behind for a corner. See that? Hutchinson, nice combination with Johnson down the right side, and as the ball gets whipped in, Edison makes a half catches the ball and then does catch it, but catches it behind the line, behind the goal line, behind the byline, sorry, so it will be a corner to Manchester City, or to Ipswich. Cheap one given away by Edison there. Left-footed delivery from the corner, cleared away at the front post by De Bruyne. All the way out for an Ipswich throw on the right side. Morsey. Godfrey. Hutchinson in a bit of bother, but gets it out for a throw. It will be a City throw, though, off of Murray Hutchinson. And City are going to make changes then. Saying they're 5-0 up. Well, Foden won't get his chance to get his hat-trick. He's going to be replaced by Jack Grealish. Also coming on will be Divin Mubama and James McAtee. So McAtee, Mubama and Grealish all coming on. And they're going to be replacing Foden. One of those. Haaland is going to be the other. And I think Jeremy Doku is going to be the third. So a triple change for City. Their main attackers, who've all scored today, are off. And De Bruyne is also coming off, actually. So let's just remind you then. Doku isn't coming off, apologies. So Doku's staying on. It's De Bruyne, Foden and Haaland all coming off. And they're being replaced by Grealish, McAtee and Mubama. Ipswich are going to make 3 as well. So Jack Clark's coming off. Kayuste is also coming off. And also coming off for Ipswich, if I get the number, is going to be Godfrey. So Kayuste, Clark and Godfrey all off, and Luongo, Philogene and Twanzebe all on. So, I mean, 6 out of the 22 players have been changed in the last few seconds, and it will take me a minute or two to get used to all these changes, but 3 changes from both teams in one go. Very different approaches for the substitutes. 3 attacking changes for City, knowing that they've got the game wrapped up. And they made some changes to rest a few players. It's not often this season City have had that luxury of having a commanding lead and can rest their players, but they will get the opportunity today, and they will take that opportunity this afternoon. In Ipswich, 3 changes really just to try and see this one out and not get themselves embarrassed on their home turf. And remember, big Champions League game, as I said, for City in the week, so that's more to the point as to why they have made those changes, bringing the likes of Haaland and De Bruyne and Foden all off. Edison, Vardiol to Kovacic. Kovacic down the left, it comes to McAtee. Gundogan. 25 minutes to go. Ipswich 0, City 5. Doku on the right hand side now. McAtee on the left and Mubama through the middle. Nunez to Doku. Back to Matheus Nunez. And so far this season, Ipswich's top goal scorer, of course, Liam Delap with 8 goals. Sammy Schmodix has 4. And Amari Hutchinson has 2 Premier League goals this season. The other scorers, Davis, Morsey, Chaplin, Taylor and Hurst, all with 1 each on the seasons. But certainly Liam Delap, the top scorer, with 8. Here's Grealish. He's it off to Gundogan now. Kovacic. City not in a massive hurry to go for more. They will. Here is Nunez. Wins the corner off Burgess. I can now find that shot conversion, or that goal conversion rate, 10% for Ipswich, averaging a goal per game. 2 penalties. Haven't scored from a free kick this season, have Ipswich. 15 of their goals have come from inside the box, 4 of them from the outside of the box. Best campaign. They've hit the woodwork 6 times this season, Ipswich, so coming close on those occasions. I'm reading just through stats now, basically. Corner for Manchester City, right hand side. Quarter of the game to go. Left footed delivery into the box, up in the air by Walton. Gets it punched away. Bouncing down on the edge for Grealish. Flips it in behind, and Mubama heads it down in the shot. Blocked. Grealish recycles it back. Kovacic. Now Vardiol. Kovacic. Nunez. Back to Akanji. City are just comfortable. They're just rolling it around the pitch here with Gundogan. Lovely bit of skill on the turn. Space and time on the ball. Vardiol. Kovacic lifts it over the top. McAtee at 6. And that's a lovely delivery, lovely goal. And Manchester City add another to the tally. And it's James McAtee, the substitute, to get a 6th for the visitors. Beautiful delivery by Mateo Kovacic. It all starts with Gundogan breaking into space, given the time and space on the ball. He plays it in down the left to Vardiol, cuts it back for Kovacic, and he spots the run of McAtee, chips it in behind. He's well onside, and he just dinks it. Lovely dinking header, looping over the goalkeeper and into the back of the Ipswich net. Really quality finish, really good delivery, lovely goal. 6-0. The City bench there applauding that goal. It made it 6-0. Well, if we'd have to go back quite a while to find out when the last time Manchester City were in a commanding position such as this in a Premier League game. Of course, it hasn't been this season. City were 5-0 up in an FA Cup game against Huddersfield last season. I'm looking for Premier League. If I can find a Premier League victory of this magnitude. There were 6-1 winners against Bournemouth in November of last season. Early in that game, they scored 5, quite a lot, to Manchester City. I have an inkling as to what I think that scoreline was. They 6-0 against Burnley in the FA Cup, 7-0 against Leipzig in the Champions League the season before last. In terms of Premier League wise, though, you have to go a while back. Quite a while back. It was 6-3 against United. The last time they had a 6-0 lead in a Premier League game, Manchester City, was a game against Nottingham Forest back in August of 2022 when they won 6-0 at home against Nottingham Forest. 6-0 was the scoreline that time. And they scored a 7-0 against Leeds back in December of 2021. That's the one I remember. It's the one I had in mind. They could get a 7th here, or even more, with 20 minutes or so to go. They need 3 goals to match a Premier League record. They need 4 goals to beat a Premier League record. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Ipswich, but they've conceded 6 in 70 minutes. On this ratio, they'll concede about 8 if it stays the way it is. But City are making more changes now. More youngsters coming on. Rico Lewis, who's more of a senior player now, he's coming on for Mateo Kovacic, and Manuel Akanji's coming off. He's going to be replaced by Nico O'Reilly. So O'Reilly and Lewis on, replacing Kovacic and Akanji. Ipswich also made a change there as well. Liam Delap is coming off, and is Amari Hutchinson, and they're going to be replaced by Jack Taylor and George Hurst. So both sides made all 5 substitutes now. So we're done till the end. No question about what's happened today. Manchester City have been up top level. Ipswich haven't really been able to match them at all this afternoon, and really this is what's transpired. City in confident form and good form, and probably not had this type of win in a long time. Not felt this comfortable in a game where they could make 5 changes with 20 minutes to go and bring on a load of young players from their bench. And that's where they are at this minute. You don't have many injuries to senior players. John Stones and Rodri are the 2 main ones out for Manchester City, but Kyle Walker, of course, not involved because he wants to leave the club, so he's not been involved recently. Oscar Bob, maybe one of the others. But that's really it for Manchester City in terms of big players. They didn't really need to bring on Bernardo Silva or Savinho today. No real need. Just made a couple of big changes. Some players that need minutes, some players that would love a few Premier League minutes, some young players, and they're getting their opportunity this afternoon. But these are not the games that Ipswich need to win and need to worry about getting results out of to stay up. It's about the teams in and around them. It's the teams that they can conceivably defeat. Those games against the Man Cities, the Liverpools, the Chelseas, the Tottenhams, although they beat Chelsea to be fair, the Arsenals, it's not where Ipswich are looking to win to kind of decide their season. Their season will be decided on who they face, how they do against the likes of Southamptons, the Wolves, the Leicesters, the Evertons. Those teams is where Ipswich's season and how their season will end will be decided. That's where it comes for them. And it doesn't get any easier. They come off a 6-0 thrashing, and it could be more before the end here. They head to the toughest stadium in the country, it seems, at the moment, and would be one of the toughest stadiums in the country at Anfield. They head to Liverpool on Saturday, 3 o'clock on Saturday, and then they host Southampton here a week after that, which is a huge game, a Coventry game in the FA Cup, and then the run of Aston Villa, Tottenham, Manchester United before they face Palace away. So a mixed bag for Ipswich to come in the next few days and weeks. For Manchester City, of course, PSG up next in midweek on Wednesday. They then host Chelsea on the Saturday Night Football next Saturday. So a big game at home for Chelsea to maybe get revenge on that defeat against City earlier in the season. But City, it's another chance to prove themselves against a good side. Then Bruges in the Champions League to finish off for City. Then away to Arsenal at the end of the month, start of February, Leyton Orient. Then Newcastle, Liverpool, Spurs, Forest, Brighton. Really tough run for City. Those combination of fixtures, some really tough sides in there for City to come when they start that run. Chelsea next, a top 6 side. Arsenal a top 4 side. Newcastle a top 6 side. Liverpool top of the league. Spurs really poor, but City hate Spurs. Forest a top 6 side. Brighton a top side. You know, not easy run for City, but this is one way to try and start yourself on convincing yourself that you can beat those teams and you can win those games and you can compete. A 6-0 victory as it stands, with a little asterisk because it might be more, it could change before full time. Ipswich have kind of solidified in the last few minutes. I think City have very much urgency to go for more. And Ipswich might get one back here. Here's Leif Davis breaking down the left. Cuts it back to the edge. Rolled away. Still alive with Luongo. Not much room to really break here in the gaps. Back with Burgess and Davis. And Leif Davis had lots of room. He could have took the shot on himself. Breaking down that left side. That's where they've had space all day, Ipswich, but haven't exploited it anywhere near enough. Davis rolls it on down the left side here. And this time for Philogene. Back to Luongo. Now Philogene. Plays it along to Davis. Nice ball forced into Morsey. Breaks into the box. Linking up with Luongo now. Philogene. Has to come back across all the way to O'Shea. And now Burgess. Lovely touch by Davis. Breaks away from Nunez. Brought down. Will be a free kick to Ipswich. Given away by Mateus Nunes. And the City man is going to get a yellow card for his troubles there. It's not massive contact, but a bit of a pull on Davis, but maybe a bit lucky to get a free kick there. But a yellow card, second of the season for Mateus Nunes. And a free kick for Ipswich here with 11.5 minutes of normal time to go. And they know they're not going to win the game. They know they're not going to get a draw out of the game. But maybe a consolation to deny City a clean sheet could be a positive. City have one man in the wall in Doku. Lots of bodies in the middle. Everyone else in the middle. So 9 outfield players in the mix. Right-footed delivery by Johnson. Headed away. Morsey will shoot. Bobbling. Couldn't find it. Still alive by Luongo though. That's good work. Keeps it alive. Whipped in. Cleared away by from O'Shea's cross. And all the way back to Tuanzebe for Ipswich. But having a bit more possession now. Knowing that City have wrapped it up. And have a go. Why not? Forward it comes. To Taylor. Into the middle. Cross. But too close to Edison again. Well, as I said, Ipswich won't worry about this game overall in the grand scheme of things. This is not where their kind of safety is decided. It will be against those sides in and around them. 43 goals conceded this season for Ipswich. That's actually not. They're in the joint 4th worst defensive record this season. 3 teams with more goals conceded than Ipswich. Wolves, Leicester and Southampton, the 3 teams they're battling with, have all conceded more. West Ham have conceded the same amount of goals as Ipswich this campaign on 43. So they didn't have a bad record in terms of goals conceded coming into this one, but 6 in one game will certainly dampen the record books, make it a bit more tough to read. But One thing that Ipswich haven't really harnessed this season is their home kind of atmosphere. 7 points from their 11 Premier League home games up to this stage. Only one home win, that was against Chelsea. 4 draws, to be fair, but this will be their 7th home defeat of the campaign. Only Southampton will have lost more games at home this season. For City, as I said, that will be their 5th away win of the season. They will jump up to 7th in that record book in terms of away form in the league, with Brighton, Bournemouth, Arsenal, Chelsea, Forest and Liverpool all with better records away from home than City in terms of points gathered. Liverpool, the only side in the league yet to lose on the road. 8 wins and 3 draws for the league leaders. But let's be honest, the 6 goals from City today, a few scrappy ones in there, so it's not that City have bombed in 6 absolute screamers. Their XG 2.82, so deservedly probably should have had about 3 goals in the game based on the XG. 16 shots, which is not astronomical. They've had 9 shots on target, again not astronomical, but they've been just clinical today, City. That's the difference. You know, they haven't completely had to blast Ipswich away. You know, they haven't had to go out of this world to get to this stage, which I don't know what does that do for either team? Does that make it more concerning for Ipswich that they're giving away cheaper chances and easier chances to score? Or is it better for City knowing that they're getting into better positions and better shooting positions, and that's why they're being more clinical, because they're getting into better areas than they have been recently? It depends on what way you look at it, but it could kind of turn out to be both. That Ipswich are giving up better, easier chances against opponents, and you know, City are getting into better areas. It's just maybe a combination of the two that's kind of been a bit of a poison devilish mix for Ipswich defensively today, which has them conceding 6. And is by far will be Ipswich's biggest defeat of the season. They have conceded 4 a couple of times this campaign to the Premier League teams in the league. West Ham away, Brentford away, they conceded 4 in both of those games. They conceded 4 against Newcastle here, but haven't conceded more than 4 up to this point of the season in any game this campaign so far. 4 was the most. They also conceded 4 against City back in August as well. But as I said, Ipswich can look forward to the next game. I mean, Anfield, tough one. It's not been impenetrable this season at Anfield, Liverpool. It's been tough for teams to get them, but 3 teams have come away with something out of Anfield this season. Nottingham Forest, the only team to win against Liverpool in the Premier League this campaign. Of course, drew with Liverpool in midweek, but Manchester United and Fulham, the other 2 sides to come out of Anfield with a point at least. You never know for Ipswich, anything can happen, but if they're losing 6 to City, I think they would certainly learn how to defend between now and next Saturday in 6 days' time when they go to Anfield. They don't want to be pounced and trounced upon 2 weeks running. Liverpool were the first team they played this season here at Portman Road. A 2-0 defeat, both goals coming in the second half. It was Arne Slot's first game in charge of Liverpool. Ipswich's first game back in the Premier League. It was at times a good competitive game, but Liverpool obviously came out on top on the day, winning 2-0. And look at where they've come since that point, the league leaders. But for Ipswich, actually lost their first 3 games of the season in all competitions, Ipswich, and went on a drawing run, 4 draws in a row after that. Some good results amongst those games. But both sides have just kind of stepped off at the bit. Ipswich have dropped off, been a bit more defensive. City not as much urgency, and with 5 minutes or so to go, it just looks like the game will just peter its way out. And no doubt about it, what will this result do for Manchester City? You know, we talk about the run that they've been on, you know, in recent games. That draw with Everton, with maybe a disappointment result, but then that win against Leicester, the win against West Ham, games they probably should be beating, and then the FA Cup victory, albeit they gave away a 2-goal lead away at Brentford in midweek. But a 6-0 victory, could that be the corner, turning the corner for City? Just, 3 defeats, or 3 wins out of the last 4 in the Premier League, 4 wins out of the last 5 in all competitions. Is that just City just getting back into the rhythm? Just 1 goal conceded in those last two of the last 3 Premier League games. Obviously conceded 2 against Brentford, but that 2 clean sheets, Salford and Leicester, and then that 1 against West Ham. But I don't know where City go from here. Do they kind of, because they're in the top 4 at the minute as it stands, do they kind of reignite their hopes for a title challenge? They're only 6 points off Arsenal, they're only 6 points off Liverpool, so still 12 points of a difference between City and Liverpool. But you never know. And we know City, if they stayed on the coattails of their opponents before, when they looked like they were cast adrift, and maybe they clawed all their way back and won those titles. But is it beyond them this season? A lot would think so, a lot would believe so. I think I'm in that camp as well. That, Liverpool don't look like they're stopping anytime soon. They had that little wobble in the last few weeks, but they're back to winning ways after that victory against Brentford. Arsenal wobbling and stumbling everywhere like a drunken man coming out of a pub. I don't know what Arsenal are up to at this minute in time. They're up and down. Fans don't even know what way to look at this stage. That's where the title race, I think, will be come the end of the season. Liverpool and Arsenal. I don't think City will be in that conversation, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. Today there'll be no doubt it is Manchester City's day, and they will relish this victory and take the confidence that they've gained in this game into the midweek fixture against PSG, which will be tough, will be a slog, will be hard for City, a PSG team that's below par themselves in Europe this season. As I said, 25th in the Champions League table are at PSG, City 22nd, so neither side performing greatly in the Champions League this season, but some points in midweek could be huge in trying to kind of get their place in the top 24. Top 8 looks to have evaded both those teams, but top 24 very realistic. As O'Reilly tried to come forward there for City, well closed out, and Philogene just recycles it back with Burgess. Down the left it comes, looking for Davis, but intercepted. O'Reilly, Gundogan holding on, finding Nunes, McAtee, O'Reilly, Gundogan. Well, City have scored 7 last time in the Premier League in 2021. That was at home. They haven't won 7 or more, scored 7 or more away from home since the 1930s. So almost over 90 years since City last scored 7 on the road in a league game. Can add to that. They can get to that point this evening. Walton just about getting away with that short touch. Burgess back to Walton on the verge of 90 in the last minute of the 90 here at Portman Road. I mean, credit to the crowd. They're still here in their droves. They're still here in their numbers. Oh, Stocku there tried to break. Couldn't find any. Demo says, can you see the chat? Yes, I can. Can see the chat. What's up? As City heads towards the 90. And we'll see how long will be added on. If I was the 4th official, I would say, do you know what? Just put a minute or 2 on. Don't put too much time added on. But that's not how they do it. But, wouldn't be too bad. 3 added minutes at the end. There's no question the Premier League player of the match has been handed out, and it's exactly the same in my opinion. Phil Foden, sensational today. He got involved in all 3 goals in the first half. Had a wonderful day. Special mention to Jeremy Doku, who was involved in all the kind of the pre-assist, if you kind of get it. And he got an assist for Haaland's goal. He got a goal himself, but a special credit to Phil Foden today. 2 assists, or 2 goals and an assist is for a man who's been out of form this season and struggling to get into that rhythm. And Phil Foden certainly deserves the Player of the Match award this afternoon. But a couple of players. I mean, De Bruyne was fabulous. Haaland was okay. He got his goal, but didn't really need to be up there. Kovacic is very, very good in midfield today, along with Gundogan and Doku. I mean, City, to a man, have probably been absolutely excellent all day. And, you know, you don't win 6-0 by being pretty average. The whole team has to perform, and they have performed today for City. And that's why they're in the position. That's why the scoreline is as it is. Dima says, what team are you? Well, I don't support either team, actually. I'm a neutral for this one. Been a neutral all day for this one. I do support a Premier League team in Liverpool, but I am a neutral for this one. Here is Gundogan. 90 seconds to go. And I think this might just be the game coming to an end in a moment. As I mentioned, don't forget Champions League action in midweek. Liverpool against Lille. The Champions League leaders take back in action in midweek. 6 wins out of 6 in the Champions League so far for Liverpool. They're back in action against French opposition in Lille on Tuesday night at Anfield on LFS. And you can see City's game away at PSG as well on Wednesday night, 8 o'clock on LFS. Here is Luongo, last minutes. Luongo with the ball in. And it's not a bad delivery, but it went all the way through and out the other end. Goal kick. I'm sure Kieran McKenna will say, put it at the back of your mind, forget about that game. I mean, don't repeat whatever you've done in that game because it was dreadful, but just put it to the back of your mind and move on. We go to the next one. And we refocus, and I'm sure that's what he'll say at full time in his interview. As the long kick by Edison will come. And there is the final whistle. Quite a convincing performance from Manchester City. Ends in quite a convincing victory on the road for City. 6-0. For the first time in a while, and the first time they've won with this sort of convincing victory in a good few months. They are the vision and the sign of champions today, but maybe to this point haven't done enough to keep themselves in the mix. 12 points adrift to Liverpool at the top, but if they were convincing and putting these victories in week in, week out, they could be title challengers, but not this season according to Phil Foden and his teammates. City might be caught adrift, but they're in the top 4 on goal difference. Chelsea have the chance to overtake them tomorrow, but we'll see how that works out. But a fantastic day for City, but Ipswich hit for 6 and seen with one of their worst performances of the season defensively, and 6 goals they have conceded at home. Final score, Ipswich 0, Manchester City 6. And that is how we end this Premier League Sunday. 4 games, on Premier League Sunday, 3 in the early games and 1 late game. And we had a cracker day of scores. 3-2 between Everton and Spurs earlier this afternoon. Brighton beat Man United 3-1. Forest 3-2 winners against Southampton, and 6-0 win for Manchester City. 1 game to come then. Tomorrow night, Chelsea take on Wolves, but we'll be back on Tuesday as the Champions League returns on Tuesday night, and Tuesday and Wednesday, Matchday 7 of the Champions League. Liverpool take on Lille Tuesday at 8, and PSG Manchester City Wednesday at 8 o'clock. That's it from us. City barnstorming their way to another victory, and in good form at the moment, but a big weekend for away teams. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.